I swear, I just wish she'd disappear. She's so infuriating, always stirring up tension, always pushing everyone to their limits. Every day, it's something new. Oh, totally. Let's just get rid of her. I've got an idea. Leave it to me. My husband's voice cut through the air, and then came the sharp trill of my mother-in-law's laugh from the living room. It pierced through me like ice. My heart went cold. My knees wobbled. I couldn't move. Just minutes ago, I had been eager to walk through that door. I had been looking forward to being back home after 2 weeks away. I'd even bought Jake's favorite bourbon during my trip, thinking tonight could be special. We'd sit together as a family, share a quiet drink, and maybe, just maybe, reconnect. I'd smiled at the thought while on the train home. But as soon as I walked in, their voices greeted me with a cruel twist. They were plotting to get rid of me. 10 years. 10 years of my life poured into this family, and in that moment, it all felt like ash. I thought about every morning I'd risen early to make breakfast, the late nights I'd spent cooking dinners tailored to their tastes, and the weekends planning meals they'd enjoy. My heart ached at the thought of it. But Madison, my mother-in-law, always found a way to ruin it. She'd take one look at my efforts. Her lips curled in disdain. Food made by someone with no class isn't fit for us, she'd say with a casual, dismissive wave. And every time, I swallowed my pride and started over. A month ago, on my birthday, Jake had missed dinner, claiming he was stuck at work. Later, I found out the truth. He'd been out with Madison, indulging in a fancy dinner at a restaurant they hadn't even called. Now, standing in the hallway, the anger and sadness I'd been suppressing for a decade rose like a tidal wave. I could hear them laughing, chatting in the living room about how to push me out of the house, like I was nothing more than a problem to solve. I gripped the handle of my suitcase tightly. My name is Sarah Green. I'm 35 years old. I'm an architect, a career I've poured my heart and soul into. My work has taken me around the globe, Paris, New York, Dubai, designing innovative spaces meant to bring joy to people's lives. Madison knows none of this. To her, a woman's place is in the home. She sees my work as a side hustle, something I do to help out. She has no idea of the life I've built for myself, the achievements I've earned. I still carry the words of my father, who believed architecture had the power to warm hearts and shape the world. Beauty in design is beauty in life, he used to say. After losing both my parents in a car accident when I was 15, those words became my guiding light. I graduated at the top of my class in college, landed a prestigious position at a global architecture firm, and spent my 20s thriving. Dating? That wasn't even on my radar. I had my work, and that was enough. Then I met Jake. He seemed different, kind, curious. When a mutual friend introduced us, he leaned in with genuine interest. Architecture, huh? That's amazing, he said. His eyes sparkled with admiration, and for the first time, I felt seen. I believed he understood me. I believed in us. So, I married him. I thought I'd found the warmth of family that I had missed for so long. We moved into a cozy apartment together, spent weekends decorating, choosing curtains, setting a small plant on the windowsill. It was simple, but it felt real. That happiness didn't last. Less than a month after our wedding, Madison moved in, completely uninvited. I just can't bear to be alone anymore, she cried, her voice trembling. Jake, visibly uncomfortable, had nodded reluctantly. I'm sorry, Sarah, my mom's been so down lately, he said. I could see the guilt in his eyes, the bond he couldn't break. Jake's father had passed away before we met, and I understood his mother's loneliness. I saw this as an opportunity to build something warm and positive with her. So, I tried. I got up early to make breakfast. I cleaned and took care of the house after exhausting days at work. I gave up weekends to make her feel welcome, but it was never enough. Madison saw me as competition, a threat to her son's affection. Every effort I made was dismissed, ridiculed, or sabotaged. And now, here I stood, listening to their cruel laughter. For the first time, I questioned everything. I always tried to make our family time special, planning activities we could enjoy together, like going out or trying new recipes. Sarah, you don't have to do so much. If you overwork yourself, we'll all be worried, Jake would say with a gentle smile. His words should have comforted me, but instead, they made me want to push myself harder. I wanted everything to be perfect. But Madison's attitude slowly shifted from indifference to outright hostility. This soup is awfully bland. Jake, how are you supposed to get your nutrients like this? She remarked one evening, her words slicing through the air. I'm so sorry. I'll do better next time, I replied, keeping my voice steady even as I fought back tears. She didn't stop there. And look at the way this laundry is folded. You're so busy with work, but this? It's just sad. My hands clenched involuntarily, but I stayed quiet. Then she delivered the cruelest blow. You know, men start looking elsewhere when their wives are too busy with work. Especially a good-hearted man like Jake. The sting of her words was unbearable, but I endured it. I had to, this was my family now. Occasionally, Jake would try to stand up for me. Mom, maybe don't say it like that, he'd offer meekly, only to falter under her stern glare. Each time he backed down, a small piece of my love for him chipped away. Still, I kept hoping that one day, Madison would accept me. One night, I shared my dream with Jake. Jake, I want to start my own architecture firm someday. I want to create spaces that make people happy. And if I could do that, I'd have more time for us too. That's incredible, Sarah. You'll make it happen, I know it, he said with a smile that, for a moment, made me feel like I had a true partner. When I landed a major project recently, one that could establish me as a serious architect, I told Jake, excited for his support. At first, he seemed genuinely happy. Wow, that's amazing, Sarah, he said, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. His gaze dropped to the floor, and I saw hesitation flicker across his face. Just, make sure you don't neglect things here at home, okay? Mom's been worried, he added softly. As if summoned, Madison appeared, placing a hand firmly on his shoulder. Her disapproving stare cut into me. In that moment, Jake's insecurities and Madison's jealousy were crystal clear. Still, I clung to the hope that one day, we could truly be a family. That night shattered that hope. I was finishing the dishes when Madison's sharp voice rang out from the living room. Sarah! Come here, right now. The harshness in her tone made my shoulders tense. I sighed, braced myself, and walked into the room. The smell of alcohol hung heavy in the air. Jake sat stiffly on the couch, looking visibly uneasy, while Madison wore a smirk of satisfaction. So, Sarah, she began, her voice dripping with venom. Are you really going on business trips, or is it something else? The accusation hit me like a slap. For a moment, I was too stunned to respond. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to remain calm. Then she pulled out a piece of paper, a divorce petition. Jake's signature was already scrawled across the bottom. My heart pounded as I stared at it. His familiar handwriting blurred in my vision. We're keeping it ready, just in case you step out of line, Madison said with a mocking smile. I know some legal experts, you know. Her smugness felt like ice spreading through my veins. My hand shook as memories flooded my mind, our wedding day, the home we'd built together, the small moments that had once brought us joy. Jake, I whispered, my voice trembling. What is this? Is our marriage so meaningless to you? Jake refused to meet my eyes. Well, Mom's just worried. And you're gone so often now, see? Madison cut in, her voice smug. Even Jake agrees. All those business trips, leaving the house in shambles. I looked at him, searching for any sign of the man I'd married. But instead, all I saw was a boy too afraid to defy his mother. For years, I had kept this house running, taking care of both of them. And now, after everything, this was my reward? Madison scoffed. Busy, always so busy. Jake, you even told me yourself you're fed up with her being gone all the time. Jake flinched, but didn't deny it. I mean, yeah, I did say that, he admitted, looking like a scolded child. Something inside me broke. The man I had trusted with my heart had chosen his mother over me time and time again. But even as anger and heartbreak surged through me, I refused to let Madison see my pain. I didn't sign the papers that night. I couldn't. Not yet. I wasn't ready to walk away from my marriage without fighting for it, one last time. I left for a 2-week work trip to Dubai, hoping that some distance would help me clear my head. During my trip, an email arrived that stopped me in my tracks. Miss Green, congratulations! Your project has been shortlisted for this year's International Architecture Award. You are the first American woman to reach this level. My heart raced with pride and excitement. Dad's words echoed in my mind, architecture has the power to heal, to bring people together. As my taxi wove through Dubai's dazzling streets, I imagined Jake's face when I told him. Surely, this would finally make him understand how much my career meant to me. Maybe this time, he'd be proud. But when I arrived home that evening, I heard laughter coming from the living room. I pushed open the door, catching Jake's voice mid-sentence. Oh God, I wish she'd just disappear. I can't stand living on edge every single day. Madison's syrupy sweet voice followed, laced with venom. Then why don't we make her go? Don't worry, honey, I've got a plan. The suitcase in my hand felt suddenly heavy as their words sank in. My heart plummeted. I'd come home eager to share my triumph, only to find them plotting against me. My hands trembled as I stood frozen, unable to breathe. 10 years of my life had been poured into this family. 10 years of early mornings, late nights, weekends spent cooking and cleaning, making sure everyone else was happy. And now, they wanted to cast me out like I was nothing. I clutched the email on my phone, the award notification that should have been a moment of celebration. Their laughter echoed in the background, sharp and mocking, until a cold realization washed over me. This time, I wasn't just leaving. I was ending this chapter on my own terms. That night, while they slept, I packed up my essentials. I left behind anything tied to the past, the gifts, the memories, even my wedding ring. Quietly, I slipped out the door, whispering a final farewell. 2 days later, I requested a meeting with Jake and Madison at a luxury hotel downtown. The 30th floor conference room overlooked the city, a perfect backdrop for what was about to unfold. Dressed in a sharp suit, I arrived early, meticulously laying out documents on the table, my award notification, project contracts, and signed divorce papers. When Jake and Madison walked in, their faces were a mixture of confusion and unease. Jake looked disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, while Madison's usual smugness had given way to suspicion. Please, sit. What's all this, Sarah? Madison asked, her tone dismissive. Some kind of last-ditch effort? I remained calm, meeting her gaze. I wanted you both here for closure, and to clarify a few things. I slid the award notification across the table. I recently learned I'm a finalist for an International Architecture Award. It's one of the highest honors in my field. My father and I dreamed of this moment for years. Really? Madison sneered. You never mentioned it. I wanted to share it with my family, but you both made it clear where I stand. Reaching for my phone, I played the recording of their cruel words. The room filled with their voices, Jake's bitterness, Madison's venomous plotting. Jake looked horrified. Sarah, that was taken out of context. There's no misunderstanding, I interrupted. I know exactly how you feel about me. I slid the signed divorce papers across the table. It's over. Jake reached for my hand, desperation in his eyes. Sarah, wait. Madison's composure shattered. Good riddance. You think you're better than us, because of some fancy job and an award? No, Madison, I said, my voice firm. I don't think I'm better than you, but I do know my worth, and it's not here. With that, I gathered my things and walked away, leaving them both in stunned silence. As I stepped into the elevator, I felt the weight of years of disappointment lift. 1 month later, I began my new life in a high-rise apartment overlooking the city. The building, a reflection of my passion, featured elegant architecture and stunning views, an embodiment of everything I loved about design. Every morning, I'd stand by the window, coffee in hand, and marvel at the vibrant city below. This life was mine, built on my terms. I reconnected with old friends, took on exciting new projects, and opened my own architecture office downtown. My work thrived, and I embraced the thrill of each new challenge. At the International Architecture Awards, when my name was called as the winner, the applause was thunderous. Standing on stage, holding the award in my hands, I felt a surge of pride and nostalgia. This moment was everything my father and I had dreamed of. Every painful experience had shaped me into someone stronger, independent, and unshakable. As I gazed out over the audience, I knew I was exactly where I was meant to be. The weight of the past had finally lifted, and the world ahead was full of possibility. The world was my canvas, and I was ready to design a life truly worth living.